Now, the government has activated emergency measures to ease prison overcrowding.
Yeah, the system was set in place this morning as more rioters are due to be sentenced. Now, it's called Operation Early Dawn, and it's a long-standing plan that means defendants waiting for a court appearance will be kept in police cells or bailed until there's prison space available.
The current capacity of prisons in England and Wales is 89,191 prisoners. As of Friday, the prison population was 87,893. That's an operating margin of just 1,350.
So let's talk now to Mark Fairhurst. He's the chairman of the Prisons Officers Association. Good morning.
Morning.
Nice to see you. So just explain what this means in practice. You can sort of understand some of the logic, but how does it work?
So we will liaise with the court services who will identify prisoners in police cells who are more likely than not to need a prison cell because they'll either get remanded into custody or receive a conviction. So we will get the transport to pick up prisoners from police cells who we have a prison cell for, and we can guarantee that they will get a prison cell somewhere in the country.
And therefore, if there's not that prison cell...
There will be.
OK.
We will guarantee a prison cell. We will make sure that those people who need to be in prison will be in prison, not necessarily in the area where they live. They may be 200-300 miles away from home, but we will guarantee people a prison cell.
The numbers are so tight there. How can you make that guarantee?
They are tight, and that's why we've initiated Operation Early Dawn. So basically, the easiest way to describe it is one in, one out. So as people get released, we can then pick up people from police cells and take them to court, and we will triage that 3 times a day.
In all of this, what are prison officers saying about the current situation, how challenging things are?
Well, it's been an extremely pressured situation for several months now because we are so full. And that's down to the previous government. Let's be honest about this. They closed 20 public sector prisons. They didn't build enough new prisons, didn't create enough prison space. And people are serving longer sentences. So as we're more overcrowded, there's less regime we can offer. We don't have activity spaces for everybody in our care. That leads to frustrations, and frustrations spill over onto the front line. We work in the most hostile and violent workplace of anywhere in the world. It's absolutely horrific.
What would you say would be an appropriate capacity for prisons? I mean, we said there, so the current prison population, 87,893, leaving just, 1,300 spare places. You say there's not been enough investment in new prisons. What would that number look like?
So our actual operational capacity that we can safely house prisoners is around about 79,000.
Right.
Now, we've got to get through these next 3 weeks because on the 10th of September, under the 40% rule on sentences, we're going to release about 2,500 prisoners and then another tranche a month later. So all in all, after these new measures, we will probably have a bit of breathing space and release about 5,500 prisoners. That will enable us, hopefully, to stabilise our prisoners, offer a predictable and productive regime for people and claw it back.
So you're saying, you just said a moment ago, didn't you, anyone who needs a prison cell will be found a prison cell. But can you just clarify for us, does this mean then that some people will be held for longer in police custody?
So Operation Safeguard is where we use police cells, and the desire is to only have prisoners in police cells for a maximum of 24 hours. The police now have a decision to make. So if we can't take all their prisoners from their cells this morning or this afternoon, then they need to decide, do we hold that prisoner for another 24 hours or 48 hours, hoping that they will be up in front of the magistrate so they can go into prison custody, or do we have to bail them? So in reality, the most serious offences will end up in court. We will guarantee them a prison cell, and the lesser offences, the police will decide, do we hold on to them or do we bail them?
So what is the knock-on effect then of police cells being blocked up?
Well, it's justice delayed at the moment, isn't it? Because we're now clogging up police cells, so they may have to delay some of their operations. When they arrest people, they've got to make sure that they've got them a custody space in police custody, because we might have prisoners filling up their cells, and, of course, they've got to pay overtime to supervise prisoners.
And the knock-on effect might be that some people who would normally go to jail might not.
No. If you need to be in prison, we will triage you, we will liaise with the courts, and they will say, no, that person is guaranteed that they will get remanded into custody or they're going to receive a sentence this morning. and we will guarantee them a prison cell. That's without doubt.
A few things jump out at me here, maybe quickly. Can the court system cope with this triage, the idea that you can speak to the courts quickly and get an answer quickly to make that decision? Is that functioning?
Yes, so we've got people working around the clock on this. I mean, the first assessment is at 5:30 in the morning,
right,
then at 11 o'clock, and then the final one about 1:30 in the afternoon.
And the other thing you've used a couple of times is 1 in, 1 out, and the release, tranches of releases. Who is being released and why?
So on the 10th of September, those who are on determinant sentences will be released at the 40% mark of their sentence. That doesn't include sexual offences, terrorist offenders or serious violent offenders. So they will be released on the 10th of September. So it's these 3 weeks we've got to get through. So a temporary measure should only last for the next 3 weeks. We're hoping it doesn't last that long. But as of Friday, we only had 340 spaces left in the closed adult male estate. So we will shuffle prisons around the country to create space for our reception prisons who are feeling the most pressure.
We know the big issue in all of this, and the reason that maybe some of these sentences have been handed down so quickly, is about the deterrent of that you will be prosecuted and you will be jailed pretty quickly. All of the messaging that comes out of this is, yes, you may be jailed quickly under, this new regime. What won't happen, though, is that you will serve your full sentence, that people are getting out early. So it really is mixed messages, isn't it? That, yes, you will be prosecuted, but you'll probably not serve your full sentence.
No, if you get a determinant sentence for a non-violent crime or sexual offence, something serious, you will serve 40% of that sentence. Now, this has been brought in quite rightly by a Labour government because of the complete mess the previous government left us in. So they had no choice, really. They had to create prison space to give us a chance to do our job and stabilise our prisons, because doing nothing was really not an option.
It's really interesting. We'll keep a close eye on how that happens, and it comes into force from September, right?
September the 10th, we're going to get some breathing space with thousands of releases under the 40% scheme, yes.
Good to talk to you this morning. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.